Hi everyone, and welcome to a video of me refurbishing the sign for our home crag stone fort. Stone Fort, for those of you who don't know, is a world-class bouldering field in Tennessee. It was the first boulder field that Mr. Climber and I had visited when we started outdoor bouldering. This is the process of how I made the sign for our field. Now, I know some of you will have some wacky comments, and I firmly welcome them. I've reported myself to OSHA personally, so don't worry about taking the time to do that. They're probably still processing the paperwork. I used a sawzall to make some okay cuts. Like many executions in life, it doesn't have to be precise, just thoughtful. At first, I was thinking about reusing some of the old pieces. I was trying this and that until after many rounds of just chasing around my toddlers, I decided to just go with the same picket fence-like structure, but a little larger. Overthinking is overrated and just costs way too much energy. The picket fence is starting to take shape here as I cut the corners off the longer boards. No shoes were worn in the making of this sign, and no toes were cut off either. Though I suppose if I had, I could just downsize my climbing shoes a little more. Here we have some screws going into another board, and that's holding that board to the other boards. Revolutionary, I know. And here we are, it's time for some sanding. I was really missing my power sander here, but Dexter and I made it work with an hour of elbow grease and several squares of 180 to 220 grit sandpaper. And that's nothing our hands aren't used to, with the southeast being covered in sandstone and all that texture work. Sanding down the edges, the corners, getting everything smooth enough that splinters won't be the crux of the hanging in this thing up. Couldn't believe that. There we have it. all put together, now it's time for designing. I started with some rough lines, just doodling, then chose a cool Renaissance style font for the title. Of course, I had to take a couple of pauses for cookies. And of course, Dexter had to have his heavy whipping cream, which I disguised as milk later, don't tell him. As I was finishing up the lettering, kids demanded water, gave them water. I added a peony and an iris. Irises just so happen to be Tennessee's state flower, so that seemed fitting for our Tennessee crag. Now it's time to burn into the boards. This is a long, tedious process, hence the time jumps and speed ups. Otherwise, this video would be 8 or 10 hours long, and nobody has time for that. We've all got problems to send. I finished the entirety of the sign over about 2 or 3 days. It was honestly a blur. As you can see, I started with the fort. I burned it in there brick by brick, just like how y'all build your algorithms brick by brick. Working on this part of the sign actually inspired me to burn a bigger piece with a castle theme someday. Excited for that project when I make the time for it. Here we have the burning of the flower stems. I could have sanded the board a little more so they wouldn't be so rippled, but it's not terrible for an outdoor sign that's going to weather Tennessee's mood swings anyway. Adding some little leaves for the peony there. And then we have the iris petals. Tennessee is covered in purple irises during spring and early summer. It's honestly a great time to visit Stone Fort. Everything is so vibrant in the spring, besides the mosquitoes and ticks. But conditions are usually pretty perfect if you can catch the humidity on its best day. Next, I started working on the script lettering. I began with Little Rock City, then moved on to the big title. The M in welcome, M for Melody, which is my name, hi. The O for oh my gosh, this is taking forever. This is where I really wish I had put another hour into sanding, because when the wood is properly sanded, it's so much easier to burn straighter and more precise lines. But we're not doing this for precision, we're doing this for the personality. Here you see me filling in the sun, as well as my son messing around with his dinosaur. I guess he decided it would look cool in the video, and I can't honestly disagree with him. Filling in the moon there. This shading method is called stippling, by the way, in case anyone was curious about art terms. Stippling. I also decided to burn the edges of the wood for extra preservation. Figured it couldn't hurt to give this sign the best chance against Tennessee weather. Gave the sign a few good coats of spar urethane, and voila! Stonefort has a new sign for the upcoming season. Happy climbing, everyone! See you around the boulders, and be safe out there.